Hi guys, welcome back. Thanks so much for joining me for more whole wellness. Tonight I'm going to be reading to you the letter to my narcissist, the narcissist that selected me as her target, or her victim, as some people call it, on the job I worked from 2014 to 2019. I reference this experience in my life quite a bit in my videos. And this letter is a long time coming. And every time I've started the letter, the reality has struck me that I have needed more healing. It is just a way to process and gauge where I'm at with my healing from the situation. And the recommendation, the idea actually came to me from my ex-sister-in-law. Her ex-husband is my oldest brother, the one that I've referenced in many videos prior to this one, who is a narcissist. He is a grandiose, volatile personality. And anyway, she went into therapy, was actually telling me last summer, the summer of 2021, that her therapist had recommended to her to write a letter to my brother, just from the perspective of a person getting their feelings out on paper. But also, I saw, when I put this into practice, so many other gifts that came out of it. Not the least of which was I was able to gauge the stage I was at in my healing. And I had, since last summer, I've attempted this letter to my narcissist, the one who picked me as her target. I've attempted this 2 times. And both times it came across very nasty. Not that I'm concerned in any way, shape, or form about how she may perceive the letter. Not that I'm ever going to send it to her, but not that I'm concerned for her or her reaction or her feelings or anything like that. I don't really feel anything towards her. But more from the perspective of, as I was writing the letter, I found that the beginning of it, as well-intended as I was, as I wrote, I could hear the angst and the anger and the bitterness inside me come out in the letter. And so I knew that even though I had come so far in my healing, that I still had quite a ways to go. And part of that's because, as I've told you, when I started the process of healing from that experience, that work experience, and working with the narcissists and the personalities and the very unhealthy people I worked with, even though that's what I originally went to therapy for, the can of worms exploded. And I found out all this other stuff, as I've told you. So the process of healing, sorry, my hair, as usual, is staticky, and I should have put it up before I started videoing, but oh well. So I keep having to push it off my face and cheeks and stuff because it's rubbing and driving me nuts. So anyway, the process of healing for me has been a bit longer than, I don't know how long it's supposed to take to heal, or I'm sure that everybody's different. So, I mean, if you're in therapy and you're listening to my videos or you're listening to other content and you're feeling bad, or, I mean, truthfully, I really don't think that there's any particular time frame on anybody's healing, because every person is different. Every person's experience is different, and every person's therapy and help and team of support is different. So you're going to get a lot of variety of processes of healing and timeframes, and even setbacks that hinder your healing process. So don't get discouraged. Don't give up. If you're feeling like you're behind, I think it's a long process. And in my personal opinion, my healing in my mind and my opinion about me, I don't think it's ever going to be over. I don't think it's ever going to end. I'm on a path and a journey to continue my wellness and continue being a better person for the rest of my life. I've already made that commitment to myself. So if you feel like you're way ahead of the process or ahead of the game, good for you. Bravo. That's really all I can say. But if you're feeling behind, please don't let that hinder you or give you reason to give up, because I can speak from firsthand experience that the continuation of the process and the continuation of the commitment to being well for yourself is so valuable. It's so worth it. It's hard. It's definitely by no means an easy thing to do. It's hurtful. There's a lot of tears. There's a lot of stress. There's a lot of anxiety. There's a lot of ups and a lot of downs. But the one thing I will say that I've noticed more than anything else is the more time that passes, the more peace there is, the more it's leveled out. I mean, the first year or two of my healing and processing and therapy and everything was like craters and valleys, craters and valleys, mountains and craters, that's what I mean. All over the place. And now where I'm at now, looking back, I even had a little hiccup today, a little setback today, and I was so disappointed in myself. And even trying to put myself in the present and identify how I was feeling, I couldn't do it. But it's the kind of thing that when you have a setback, at least you have the awareness and the tools to evaluate and reflect, and try to be better next time you get caught off guard or whatever. But the one thing I can speak to and can attest to is that over time, instead of having these extremes, it becomes like this, and then it becomes like this. And so it's not that it gets easier, but you become more aware and you become more in tune with yourself and more in touch with your emotions and your thoughts and things that you know are going to unhinge you or hurt you, or so it's worth the effort. It's worth the work, in my opinion. Now, I have a phenomenal support system. So, again, one of the reasons I started this channel is if you do not have a support system, you can reach out to me here. I'm by no stretch a doctor or a therapist or licensed in anything, but I am a real person who has walked in the shoes of trauma and has come out on the other side and has a lot to say, and I can be a voice of support. So feel free. That's what I'm here for. That's the reason I started this channel, because I by no means am so naive as to believe that everybody's got the gift that I have of a good support system. In fact, I know that all too often people do not have the support system they need, and it's invaluable. So stay tuned. Thanks so much for joining me. I am going to get right to my letter now. This is the letter I have finally written, and I am so proud of, to my narcissist, because I mean nothing nasty in this letter. It's definitely comes from the heart and is very matter of fact and very truthful based on my experience with her. Dear narcissist, as stunned and perplexed as you will be upon receiving this letter from me, what you are feeling is nothing in comparison to the shock I would ever feel if I ever received a genuine apology or felt regret from you. I am hearing and seeing how happy you appear to be, and this, of course, does not surprise me. I knew very early on in my acquaintance with you that you were a person whose joy came from getting what you want, and that you worked very hard to get what you want. Congratulations to you. You are definitely one of the hardest working, diligent, and most committed people that I've ever met in my life. You set your sights on what you want and you get it. As much as I generally admire this trait when I've seen it in others, unfortunately I cannot admire this in you, since you do so at any cost. I'm actually really glad now, several years later, that by me stepping down, I was actually able to help you achieve your goal. At the time, of course, I resented it, but now I know that had I not stepped down, you could never have had that job. A job in payroll or HR in that company or any company, because you had no experience and you didn't have the skill. Essentially, you did win, but it was by forfeit and by cheating, which does work and is effective, I suppose. But that's just not me. So I'm very grateful for everything that happened on that job, and the fact that you and that experience are in my past. I'm grateful for that. At times I'm so grateful that there don't seem to be words to express it. Truth. Writing a letter to those who have helped me get to this point was a suggestion from a friend of mine, and I could not have agreed with her more. It is high time that I express my gratitude and thanks to you. You were such a profound influence on me getting to where I am now. Thank you. Before I go too far with my thanks, though, we probably should both acknowledge that the lie you probably still try very hard to believe, that I supposedly never liked you, is a complete and utter lie. This letter will make so much more sense to you if you are able to somehow accept that truth, along with the fact that it actually was you who grew to dislike me. Well, the more accurate statement would be you grew to loathe me, and your contempt was born from an ugly, pathetic jealousy. In any case, the reasons I'm grateful to you are so numerous that I hardly know where to begin. But through your behavior towards me and your treatment of me, working together at that company, I have learned some of the most wonderful lessons of my life. The first and most valuable lesson has been self-love. Yes, self-love. I am such a kind-hearted, loving, giving, joyful, friendly, funny, respectful, connected, warm, creative, and open-minded person. Ironically, this is everything that you wish to be, or that you think that you are, or try to be. But I also learned what out of control jealousy can do to a person. I learned about controlling and manipulative behavior. I learned about narcissists and narcissistic relationships. I learned about gaslighting and flying monkeys. I learned about toxic relationships and healthy boundaries. I learned about tricky families and childhood abuse and trauma and so much more. With the help of the enablers in our office, you have been the only person in my life who has been able to make me see the truth. You forced the blinders off my eyes with your persistent maltreatment of me. Finally, at the age of 46, I see the truth about myself, the truth about my past, and the truth about life. It's so unfortunate that my past and my trauma and allowing others to treat me poorly had become so familiar to me in life that it actually had become comfortable. I've always known that I had a stubborn side, but that word barely touches the depth of the truth. In truth, my being stubborn was actually me rejecting reality. I refused to accept you for who and what you were, and believed that you could and that you wanted to change. I believed that you could and wanted to be a better person. It wasn't just you that I did this for either, though. I did it for many others, many from the past and many there at that job. I wanted to help, and I offered forgiveness and ways for us to get along at every opportunity, all the while sacrificing myself. Well, you never once asked for my help, nor did anybody else. I was such a fool. Thank you for showing me this. Are you starting to see now why I'm so grateful to you? The unfortunate part of this letter is that I'm truly grateful for your past trauma as well. You could never have been so unkind and so proud and so vengeful and so bitter and so angry towards me had you been a healthy, healed, grateful soul yourself. As sorry as I am about your past hurts, though, clearly your efforts to bury and ignore them have been very successful. Your vulnerabilities that you work very hard to reject, though, combined with the reality of your humanity, is always there, though. Remember that. The shame, the guilt, and the inadequacy that you feel is something that you own. No one else can make you feel that way. Just like it was never my fault that you felt less than or vulnerable when I was around. Others' ability to emotionally connect or feel emotions should not intimidate you or make you feel threatened or less than. When you allow others to influence you in this way, you allow them to control you. When you don't heal from your own past traumas and hurts, as hard as it is to do that, you allow the trauma to control your life. The trauma calls the shots in everything you do and becomes the sole motivator in your life. Any gratification or joy derived then is fleeting and is at the mercy of and dependent upon others that come and go from your life, just like me. I came into your life and derailed you. You're lucky then if no one happens to come into your life and make you feel threatened, and you're unlucky then when someone comes along and becomes your Achilles heel like I did. Then you become petty, reactionary, and deplorable in your behavior. Do you remember those words? Those were the exact words you used to describe yourself and your behavior towards me after our first couple years working together. That one time you tried to convince me that you were just having a hard time and you made a mistake. It was not surprising to me at all after you wrote those words that you continued to be nasty to me. You'll be glad to know that I no longer pity you. But the day your world collapses, think of me. Remember what I've said. You cannot be your own person if you allow the trauma to control your life. Even if you crumple up this letter and burn it in anger and spend the next few days fuming because of the accuracy and the nerves I've hit, at least my words will stay with you. And you will read this letter to the very end and know that I'm very grateful to you. I know now, finally, at the age of 46, that I should have told you off to your face a long time ago. I should have told you to shut up and get away from my desk when you went off on me about your daughter's stupid work permit. I should have told you to grow up when you got all pissy at me about the insurance agent's check that I cut. I should not have stifled my outburst of laughter when you accused me of trying to steal your job, a job that was lower than the one I was in. I should have told you to do the mail your own damn self if you didn't like the way I did it, or when I did it, or how I did it. I should have told you so many things. Thank you for showing this to me. One final note in closing. As grateful as I am to your trauma, I feel nothing towards you anymore. I owe you nothing. You do, however, owe me a huge apology, which I'm sure I'll never get, but that's quite okay. Because I know the truth about who and what you are as a person. And it's sad and pathetic. And I know, long after this letter is crumpled and tossed or burned, that my words and the truth will stay with you forever. Because that's the one thing that drove you nuts about me. I could always see the truth. I could always see right through you from day one. I knew who you were from the start. It took me a long time to admit it to myself, but I finally did. Because that's who I am as a person. I am a believer in the good. A positive, loving person with genuine intentions and a pure soul. That's the letter to my narcissist, and I am quite pleased with it. It gives me great peace to actually read it back through after I've written it and reviewed it and all that other good stuff. Yeah. So I highly recommend trying to write a letter, even if it's just on loose leaf paper or a Word document you don't save while you're distracted at work or whatever. I've done it. And I just shred it or tear it up or whatever I got to do just to get my thoughts down on paper and get them organized. And like I said, the first time I tried to do this was after my sister-in-law first told me about it as something she did last summer. And I thought, I'm going to give that a try. It sounds interesting. It sounds interesting. And I tried it twice, and it didn't go well. I just found myself getting anxious. But I'm super pleased with that one. Super pleased with that one because it brings me peace. It's truthful. I know the truth about her, the truth about myself. I don't need to hide it. I don't need to fight it. And it just is what it is. And I'm in a good place. Hopefully you are on that same path. But if you're not, or if you even have a speed bump like I did today, reach out. Feel free to reach out. We're here for each other. It's the whole point of this channel. We are here to be on a journey for wellness. Take care of you. Bye-bye.